Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I want to share with you how I plan to make the most of the remainder of 2020 by creating a future log / goal planning spread inspired by the book 12-Week Year. I am actually migrating to a new bullet journal starting September, which is very timely because I always see a new notebook as a fresh slate or a new chance to start over. And also for me, the last quarter of every year is when I usually get a bit aggressive about my goals because of the fact that I only have a few more months left to achieve them. And even more so this year because of this pandemic, many of my goals, projects, and plans which I set in the beginning of the year were either knocked off their course or slowed down, or otherwise I had to completely abandon them. Which is why I became even more determined to salvage and make the most of what's left of 2020 so that I can end the year with a bang, or at least end it in a positive note. And I realized that the only way for me to do that is to focus on everything I can do that is actually within my control. So I was searching for a system to help me plan out and implement multiple projects and goals in a short amount of time. And I came across this concept of the 12-week year, which is also a book by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. I will link the book and the website in the description below so you can go check it out. So in essence, the whole concept of the 12-week year, as the name suggests, is to get more done in 12 weeks than most people can do in 12 months by breaking down your goals into very specific weekly action plans and targets which you will really have to commit to get done week by week. So there is a lot of planning and accountability involved here, which is why it was important for me to design a system in my bullet journal to really help me keep track of exactly what I need to do and by when. So in this spread I am creating, I am actually experimenting with integrating my future log in my new notebook with this 12-week goal planning system. And I know that technically I have 18 weeks left and not 12 weeks, but I also want to keep the month of December a bit free so I can wind down and enjoy the holidays. So on the left side of the page, I made a simple future log of the remaining 4 months of 2020. And then on the right side of the page is where I will map out all of my goal planning into the corresponding weeks of those months. So because I'm planning in terms of weeks and not months, that also explains why I have merged those weeks that are the cusps of 2 months. So for example, in September, I added the first 3 days of October into this last week so that when I go into my weekly planning, I can account for exactly how many weeks I have, which in this case is 18 weeks. I have also left space where I can add in the specific dates and appointments that have already been scheduled in the same way that you would do in a future log. So here I am moving on to the right side of this spread. I have roughly 5 to 6 goals or projects I really wanted to accomplish by end 2020, so I have assigned each goal or project its own color code, which I will also be using as I plan out each of these goals out in detail. For me, color coding my goals and life categories helps me a lot because I'm a very visual person, but I also want to keep to the essentials. So my use of color in my bullet journal is more to organize and categorize information to make it easier for me to see in one glance. And these goals are also in accordance to the identities or roles that I want to embody in my life, whether it's in terms of work, my passion project, self-development, hobbies, and so on. These goals and projects are also ranked in order of priority from left to right, so that in that way, I will make sure to focus on the high priority project first in case I don't have enough time. So my first goal category in gray is my work or my day job, where I have to create and launch new courses by the end of the year. And the second and third category in green is actually my passion project, which is about environmental restoration and regeneration of degraded ecosystems and communities. This was a project that I really hoped to launch by this year, but just like many projects around the world, we weren't able to because of the pandemic. But in any case, we decided to just accept the situation and be flexible, so we reviewed and revised our plans based on what we can actually do or achieve by the end of the year. Another thing I wanted to do this year is to become a creator. Specifically a content creator, because I see it as a stepping stone towards eventually working for myself, turning my hobbies into my work, and having the freedom and the time to pursue what I really wanted to do, including my passion project. And then my other good to have goals for this year is to become a polymath and extend my range of skill sets and knowledge. So earlier this year, I set out the goal to learn 20 useful skills by 2020. So far I'm learning my 10th or 11th skill. And lastly, I also wanted to make time to focus on my art. But like I said, these are good to have goals if I had the time, so I will not necessarily be disappointed in myself if I won't be able to achieve them. So when it comes to actual goal setting, what I've learned from this book as well as other books I've read is to create a compelling vision for each goal. Meaning to say your goals must be big enough to really excite you and motivate you, but not too difficult or impossible that you set yourself up for disappointment. So you will notice that I am experimenting with writing my goals in the past tense in a way to claim and manifest it as finished in the eyes of the universe. And I know it sounds a little bit out there, but maybe another way to think about it is this. If I visualize how my life will be like if I actually achieve all of these goals like how I've written them down here, that actually makes for a really compelling vision. The book also mentioned to be very specific on your goal target, as in, for example, to specify exactly how many pounds you want to lose, or how many subscribers you want to gain, or how much in sales you want to earn. But the reason why I do not do this here myself is because I personally think that those numbers are external outcomes that are not necessarily within my control. And if I focus too much on achieving that number, I might end up frustrated or feeling like a failure if I don't hit that mark. When in actual fact, I also know that the mere journey and the kind of person who I am slowly evolving to become in the process of trying to achieve these goals is already a big accomplishment in itself. So instead of focusing on what is out of my control, I instead focus on what is within my control, namely the systems and the actions that I can do day to day or week by week to help me achieve these goals. So that is why I am breaking down each goal into very specific actionable strategies, tactics, or milestones, which I am writing here at the top of the page. And for every strategy, I drew a vertical line connecting it down to its corresponding goal, and a circle on top for me to put a check mark if I have completed this. So later on, these lines will help me map these actions into the corresponding weeks in my future log. Which brings me to my next step, which is to plan out my 12-week plan. So to do that, I am simply drawing a thicker line to indicate in which weeks I want to schedule each of these strategies or milestones. This is so I can have a visual overview of my entire plan with respect to its timeline. So if you're not very sure how to plan out which weeks to assign to each action item, I have several tips which I hope can help you. The first tip is to work backwards from a target milestone if you have one. So for example, my target tentative launch for this course is in November. So working backwards, I have assigned the weeks of October for production and the weeks of September for content development. And then for those action items which already have a rough or fixed schedule, you can go ahead and directly indicate them in those respective weeks or months. So in this example, I know I have 2 important committee meetings sometime in September and October. And in this other example, my online ecosystem restoration design course already has a fixed schedule for every module. And for each module, we also have a quiz and a reflection at the end of every week. So that is why I drew an additional circle for each week to remind myself of those specific deadlines. Another way of scheduling is by simply indicating the rough time frame if that is actually all you need to know. So for example, from now until November is the rainy season from where I am from, so I know that we should try to maximize this period for planting works. So as long as we plant during this rainy period, we can still be flexible in terms of which days or which weeks to plant. My next tip is to think of the dependencies between tasks. So in my example, I have allocated this task of design in the first half of September and then drew an arrow towards this task because we will need the restoration and planting design of some of these areas first before we can actually start securing seedlings and start planting. Another way of scheduling is to see which weeks or which months are a bit more free compared to the others so that you could designate your more flexible tasks there. So in my case, I scheduled the second half of September for website design because I could see that in the first half I will be busy with planting design. Next, you're probably wondering what all of these dots are. These dots represent recurring tasks with a fixed frequency, whether it is weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. So for example, for content creators out there, this could be how often you plan to post on your blog or your other platforms. So by indicating the frequency of these tasks, as well as which weeks you have scheduled them, it is easier to see how the upcoming months will look like if you have all of these scheduled. And if there are specific months where you will be busier than usual or it'll be difficult for you to commit to this schedule, so for example for me that would be December, you can consider batching these content or tasks and making them ahead of time so that all you have to do is release, submit, or publish it on the scheduled dates. So this is the completed overview and spread for my 12-week goal planning for the remainder of 2020. If you also want to goal plan in this same way and want to take a closer look at this spread, I've also included a download link to a free high-resolution image in the description box below. In the next video, I will share with you how I take this 12-week goal plan to the next level of detail by planning out my weekly and daily implementation plan. So if you're interested to learn more about that, do hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you won't miss it. I really hope this video helped you, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Take care everyone!